श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। So let's chant it together. Let's try to chant it together, starting with Mauna Vyakhya and then the first 5 verses of the Dakshinamurti Stotram. Let's see how it sounds. Mauna Vyakhya prakatita parabrahma tattvam yuvanam varshishthante vasatrishiganai avritam brahmanishtai acharyendram karakalita chinmudram nandarupam swatma ramam muditavadinam Dakshinamurtimide Vatavitapi samipe bhumi bhage nishannam Sakalamuni jananam gyan Trubhavana gurumisham Dakshinamurti devam Janana marana dukkha cheda daksham namami Chitram vadataror mule vriddha shishya gurur yuva gurostu maunam vyakhyanam shishyastu chinna samshayaha nidhaye sarva vidyanam bhishaje bhavaroginam gurave sarva lokanam dakshinamurtaye namaha. Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya. Sounds very good. Om Vishwandarpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pasyanatmani mayaya bahiribhutam yatha nidraya yat sakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanamevadvayam tasmai shri gurumurtaye namaidam shri dakshinamurtaye. Bijasyantarivānkuro jagatidam prāṅ nirvikalpam punaha maya shupita deshakala kalana vaichitrya chitrikritam maya viva vijrambhayatyapi maha yogi vayasvechaya Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaita Shri Dakshinamurtaye Yasyaiva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asatkalparthakam Bhasate Sakshat Tattvamasiti Veda Vachasa Yo Bodhayatyashritan Yat Sakshat Karana Bhavanin Puranavritti Karyuno Nidhau Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Nana Chitra Ghatotara Sthita Maha दीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तुमनुभाति एतत् समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणपीन्द्रियान् चञ्चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्धजडोपमास्त्वहमिति भ्रान्ताभिसंवादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहाव्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये. Good, very good. Yeah, I think we just have a couple of spots where pauses need to be given. I think everybody was pretty well. So that's optional, but I think it is better to kind of take a pause for the breath. And Maya Kalpita Desha Kala Kalana, just like, and then the second one. So that'll come with practice. It's almost there. Very good. So we'll continue with this. Good. So let us see, this is on. Yeah. Let's pronounce verse number 23 onwards, a few of them. Let's see how many. Maybe 23 to 27. Let's do that. You can just follow after me. Jnanam na chet swayam siddham. Jnanam na chet swayam siddham. Jagat andham tamo bhavet. Jagat andham tamo bhavet. Na chedasya kriya kachit. Na ched kriya kachit. Vyavaharaha katham bhavet. I don't know if there's a better way to pronounce. I don't know. It's not. It doesn't sound all that good, but maybe I'll practice. Then number 24. So maybe we can just completely do the first line and not have a pause in between. So let's see how it sounds. Kriya nama parispanda parinama swarupini. Kriya nama parispanda pariman. Yeah, I think that's better. Spandamane bahirgyane tad ankuravat udbhavet. Spandamane bahirgyane tad ankuravat udbhavet. Utpadya prapya samskarya vikaryopashraya kriya. Utpadya prapya samskarya vikaryopashraya kriya. Good, excellent. Karoti gacchatyunmarshti chinnatiti pratiyate. Karoti gacchatyunmarshti chinnatiti pratiyate. Shivo brahmadi deheshu sarvagya iti bhasate. Shivo brahmadi deheshu sarvagya iti bhasate. Devatiryang manushyeshu kinchit gyastaratamyataha. Devatiryang manushyeshu kinchit gyastaratamyataha. Jarayujo andajaschaiva svedajah punar udbhidaha. Jarayujo andajaschaiva svedajah punar udbhidaha. Ete chaturvidhaha dehaha kramasho nyunavatra vrittayaha. Ete chaturvidha deha kramasho nyunavrittayaha. Okay. So if you recall what we had pretty much completed in the last class was the 1/2 of Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, which is given to all the human beings, all the beings, Kriya Shakti and Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, and Ichha Shakti. So the power to know, power to do, and the power to have some desires. And those are given to all the jantus, all the living beings, the ones that are trying to achieve something. And everybody is trying to achieve something in one form or the other. And so there we saw that the Jnana Shakti and the Kriya Shakti and the Ichha Shakti is coming from Ishvara himself. It is not as though we are, all we do is modulate it. That's all we do. But the basic source of Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti and Ichha Shakti comes from Ishvara himself. And perhaps just a detour on Ichha Shakti. So it's interesting, this is important stuff. It needs to be brought up somewhere or the other. We might as well just look at it now, and then we will continue with this. So please observe that Ichha Shakti has two components. One component is where all actions are preceded by a specific desire, kamana, which is called kamana or ichha. So that means that whenever you try to do something in your life, you precede that with saying, I want to do this. I want to do this. This will be good for me to do. This is how all the actions are begun. But it turns out this is not all actions. This is only a segment of actions. Segment of actions. And the other segment is where the karma, the action, your kriya, is not preceded by kamana. This is an important stuff. Not preceded by kamana. What's the example of that? Your breathing is a kriya, but it's not preceded by kamana. You don't get up in the morning and says, I think I'd like to breathe. The breathing is very natural. Very natural. And similarly, opening the eyes and seeing things is not a kamana. So there are a series of actions that are not preceded by a conscious desire. So in all these cases, the desire comes in if there is a severe problem. Like supposing you can't open your eyes, or you have difficulty in breathing. Then you can say, wow, what's happening to me? My breath and so on. So that's then you have to deal with it. But in the normal course of your life, the actions may be preceded by kamana or may not be preceded by kamana. It is not given that all of them will be preceded by kamana. Okay? And in many cases, there is some desire which is not restricting you. It is not because of your the fact that you are incomplete, you are not feeling well, and therefore you need to do this. You just do it because of your your ability to just have, like playing things, cards, playing cards, or playing some game, playing with your grandchildren. It's just fun. There's no real desire for it. It's not as though I've got to do this or anything like this. And yet you focus yourself on this. And so similarly, just enjoying just because you are able to do it. So the examples given here are that in the Shastra, that Maharajas and Rajas who are very well off and they don't need anything, still they just enjoy meeting with people, arranging for some events and so on and so forth. It's not as though they have to do it. This is what is called Leela. So Leela just means that it is just in their nature. They don't need to feel good about it. But they feel that my responsibility as a Raja is that I should have some action with my people and so on and so forth. So just have fun. So this being the case, the Ichha Shakti of Ishvara does not have the first component. It only has second component. But the Ichha Shakti of Jivas has both components. Both components. Because we are, and this is something that we will see throughout our Shastra, and you should really get to know this well, that our life consists of a circle of avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, kama, karma. Avidya, kama, karma. And so you take a body which is the result of a karma phala, which is a karma, and because of your past karmas, you have decided to take this body. You and I may not realize it, but that's exactly what it is. We ordered this body. We ordered this body, and with all of its problems, varying problems, and so on and so forth, we ordered it. It's like ordering a car. And you have all these kinds of desires. Oh wow, it'll be nice to get a Chevrolet Volt with all electric car and so on and so forth. It's nice to see. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of Volts. Before that, they were not there. But now they're beginning to really, every time I see that, it makes me very happy that finally Detroit is coming up. So you ordered a car. When you get the car, you discover that it has some good points and lots of bad points. It doesn't do this, it doesn't do that, it requires a lot of maintenance. But you didn't know all of that, so this is called avidya, kama, karma. So you utilize it, and from the karma, and so this is a continuous process. From the karma, your vasanas are born. Vasanas are born means that your desires are born. Because, for example, supposing you buy this car, and especially if you lease it. If you lease it for 3 years, then very soon, within a month or two, people say, how do you like this car? And then you say, well, I'm not sure. So, okay, so somebody will say, would you lease it again? They say, probably not. I don't think so. I'm stuck with it for 3 years, and so I have to pay lease payments and so on. But I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it. So then what will you do? Then you come up with some other desires. This is called vasanas. Then you say, oh my God, I wish I'd bought a Tesla Model 3, this new one, and so on and so forth. And you wait for it and so on and so forth. All of my older son and my nephew, they've all ordered the Model 3. So they're waiting for it. And so you get it, you may be very happy with it for a while. And then you say, oh my God, this is too expensive. Why did I have to spend that much money? Again, you have some kind of a vasana, karma. So you do this. Anyway, going back to the basic premise, the jivas are under the spell of the kamana-driven karma to a large degree, but not exclusively. Because there is a second segment also. Not all the karmas are preceded by kama. Not all of them. And so the Shastra says that in Ishvara, the entire srishti, the entire creation of Ishvara is just like breathing. So the breathing and opening your eyes is your swabhava, as we were discussing in some other class. It is not your swarupa, but it is your swabhava. This is your gunas. This is how it is. No living being can exist without breathing. That's a fundamental part of it. As an Atma, you don't need to breathe. So when you say, I am alive, you're speaking the truth, but you're not speaking the whole truth. It's not the whole truth. The fact that I am alive, it's true. It's true. I'm not dead. I'm alive. That much is true. It's not the whole truth, because the Atma doesn't require prana. It is there already, already pre-existing, and never really at the behest, never at the control of breathing or any of the pranas, prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana. No, nothing to do with it. But as a living being, you are at the behest of the kamana. Then you feel that I need to do something. But in the case of Ishvara, the srishti of Ishvara is purely swabhavikam. What is called swabhavikam, mayam, mayikam. And so, to ask why did the Ishvara create it? There is no reason. It's not as though, he was bored and he said this. This is the swabhava of Ishvara. The whole creation is nothing but the swabhava. And there is no creation actually. There is no creation because the creation is a swabhava, not a swarupa. Not a swarupa. So like a person who has learned some dancing, and a very elaborate, he's studied dancing, Bharatnatyam, and has become very good and so on and so forth. And then and this was an example given by Swami Tattvavedananda Ji, I remember it so well. He says, I met a person once. So there was some kind of some function. And so Swamiji was invited, Swami Tattvavedananda was invited. And so there was some talks by Swamiji and some others. And then after that, there was going to be a dance performance. So he says that when I was sitting there for dinner, or no, not dinner, he was just talking to someone and there and so forth. There was a person on the other side. And he looked like a nice, ordinary, wonderful person, nothing extraordinary. Then an hour later, the same person that he just thought was just an ordinary person was the star of the evening. And once he started dancing, Swamiji said, my goodness, I didn't know that this person who just looked like a simple person sitting there knew so much. He was so intricate dancer. So the srishti of the Ishvara is one where he doesn't have to dance all the time. He can just be a simple person. But just his swabhava is that there is some guna in the whole srishti which is always going on. Always going on. And there is it's not as though the Ishvara needs to do this. He doesn't need to do it. In fact, many times, you meet some artist who used to be like a singer. People have to say, do you know who he is? He's that famous singer. Everybody will say, can you please sing some songs for him? He says, no, I don't know. I don't sing anymore. I'm okay the way I am. Say, no, please sing something. He doesn't really have a desire to sing, but he can sing if he wants to. So the Srishti of Ishvara is like that. It is Swabhava. And you have a taste of it. It's not as though it's like strange. How can you do that without having... Hey, we do it too. Partially. We do it by just breathing and by opening the eyes. And these are examples given in the Shastra, that the Srishti of Ishvara is like breathing, like a breath. How effortless it is. And like opening the eyes, how effortless it is. It is very natural. But in addition to that, the jivas have some kamana-driven actions that we do. So anyway, so this is, please make a note of that. So going back to the verses, what we had finished doing last week was that what we said was that the Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti and Ichha Shakti is a Swabhava given to all people, all living people. But the Swabhava given to all the people is not generated by the jivas themselves. It is really the very samashti. Ishvara has that power. And that power can be modulated. Like the very space is, if you want to make a room space, then the whole space is available to everyone. You can make a small room space or a big room space. But it comes from not the room space. He doesn't have to generate room space. All he has to do is to put walls in there. So the Jnana Shakti we saw the that how just like Surya is all Roshni, all the light comes from Surya, from the sun. Similarly, all Jnana Shakti comes from Ishvara. And we simply utilize it. It is given to us depending upon our karmas and our ability to manipulate it. Then some people are smarter, some people are duller. All things. In fact, that's going to come, Taratamya. So we have. So therefore, the essence of that analysis is that the Jnana Shakti has a single source. Single source. It's already there. And so just like then we can bring in the dream example again, that in the dream, your ability to have a variety of experiences was already in your Atma. It did not generate, the dreamer did not generate it on the spot. It was already there. It simply expressed it, that's all. So this was the Jnana Shakti. And so, in fact, it ended by the first half of verse number 23. It was summarized, which says, also another thing was that there is a single source of Jnanam, like the sun, and the single source of Jnanam is Swayam Siddham. This is the other thing that we saw in our previous classes. It has to be that way. Means that the end of all dependence is in independence. You cannot have a series of dependencies. And then I said, when is it going to end? Oh, we don't know when it's going to end. It depends on something else. Then you have to know, where is it dependent on? So the structure of anything is that all formful things can resolve into something which is formless and swayam siddham. It is already existing, pre-existing condition for our Obamacare. It's pre-existing, already there. Completion, sense of completion. Here it's interesting. Just something else that just popped into my head that I can do. Maybe I should save these things because I can space it out over a long time, and so on and so forth. But if they just come to me, I just said, why not now? So you've seen that the acquisitions, by this time you should be very familiar, and you should know this very well as students of Vedanta, that my gain of things is of one of two kinds. One is the gain of not yet gained, and the other one is the gain of something which is already gained. Right? Praptasya praptihi, apraptasya praptihi, and praptasya praptihi. So the self-knowledge comes into praptasya praptihi, not to apraptasya praptihi. And the way we should approach self-knowledge, our way of thinking, our way of acting upon this should be with praptasya praptihi, natu apraptasya praptihi. Okay? So here, Swami Maheshananji gives a beautiful example. And I was really struck by it when I read it. So let me just share that with you. He says, look, supposing you want to buy a home. And you don't have money to buy the home. Or maybe you have money, but you know how it is in the Bay Area. You never have enough money to buy a home. Just when you think that you have enough money, then you're outbid by somebody else. And so the whole struggle in the Bay Area is to accumulate enough money so you can buy a home. So which segment does it fall under? Apraptasya praptihi. One which is not yet gained. You're trying to gain it. And so now, in this way of approaching the getting a house, your entire karma should be involved in having all the things necessary to buy the home. Just my wife's niece, her brother's daughter. So they're moving from San Francisco to, she's a dean of law school at Santa Clara University, and she got a very good offer there. So she's both a professor as well as a dean. And so she's moving from San Francisco, where she used to teach, or she was a dean there, to this area. Now they want to buy a home. And it is so expensive. They don't know what to do. Her husband also has got a very good job. She's got a very good job. They're both earning good money. Well, finding a home is very difficult. So the other day, so my son, my older son, he is the broker, because he generally deals with commercial property, but in this particular case, he can also do residential. So he was helping his cousin, Rupa, to make an offer to this home. Okay? So this was all going on. We had a big family gathering a couple of days ago. A lot of the people were together. There was like 20 people, and a big halla-gulla going on. And so my son and Rupa were both working to make an offer. Then I found Rupa my wife's niece, was sitting there typing something on her laptop. And she was there for a long time, and then she would ask something for her husband and her father, and then she will, so I said, Rupa, what are you doing? She says, I'm writing a cover letter. You're writing a cover letter to whom? To the seller. So buying a home doesn't mean just putting money and says, okay, here's what it is. You have to plead your case. You have to plead your, really, it's like a application with, and so we were all joking with her. I said, put some sob story in there. You know, this, that. And then we also said, threaten them. Threaten them that we have some special powers and prayers. If I don't get this home, nobody will be able to, so we were just joking. So this girl was writing this huge thing, which is a cover letter. Well, the end result is she didn't get it because it was for $2.4 million in Redwood City. And my son was actually not in favor of even offering full price, but he said, okay, fine. This is overpriced, but if you want to do it, just take 2.4. It went for 2.7, $300,000 more than that. So they are all sort of disappointed. So here's the thing. This is called apraptasya praptihi. And the apraptasya praptihi involves getting money, then writing a cover letter, doing a lot of prayers, and we don't know we're going to get it. This is called apraptasya praptihi. Swami Maheshananji gave this example, and this is very current, that's going on. Now comes praptasya praptihi. Praptasya praptihi. Okay? So, there was a man whose father left a lot of property to his family. And one of them is a rental home. And the rental home, they had maybe 3 or 4 rental homes. And one of the rental homes was given to this person. Another rental home was given to his brother, sister, etc., etc. So this property is his. And so he goes to the renters and said, you know, from now on I am the owner. And he says, who are you? We've never seen you before. He says, you know, I'm the son of Mr. Such and Such. He died recently. How do we know this? Prove it to us. So he thought it was an automatic thing because, you know, he was told that this property belongs to you. But there are some obstacles, vignas. And so he has to go to his lawyer, and the lawyer says, well, look into the papers, it must be there, you know, your will, your father must have given a will and so on. And he can't find the will. And so after some time, they found the will. And you know how it is in India, people will just, possession in 9/10 of the law. They'll say, we're not moving from here. We don't care what you do. Then you have to bribe the judge. But Swamiji says, so there are some actions involved. It's not as though you walk in and say, out, this belongs to me, and the person says, okay. So there are some actions involved. But the actions involved of praptasya prapti are of a completely different nature. One of the things is you have complete confidence that it belongs to me. Another one is there's some minor problems, it'll be solved. It's already mine, but I just need to make sure that the papers are straightened out. It's very different from apraptasya prapti. Very different, it's completely different. So also for the gaining of the self-knowledge. So, in the very beginning, you need to ascertain, is it praptasya praptihi or is it apraptasya praptihi? and it appears it's apraptasya prapti. Very, very firmly, very clearly, very, absolutely pakka that this is apraptasya prapti. And all your actions are related to apraptasya prapti. So you do whatever you can to improve your life here, and then slowly, hopefully your family has good values and so on. The next thing you do is to go to a temple. And so what you find is that it's very rare that you have an 11 or 12-year-old who says, I want to go to a temple. But they are slowly trained by the parents, and let's go to temple. And say, why? I want to play. No, you have to, this is important. And so slowly, and then as you grow older, then you start having problems. Your friends are probably giving you problem, your in-laws are giving problems, all kinds of things. Then you start thinking about going to the temple. Because my local people are not all that helpful, maybe there is some possibility that Ganesha, so you do some puja, and then the pujari also says, then come very regularly, not just once or twice. You have to pray, and all of that is correct. So all of that is apraptasya prapti. This is all writing cover letters and gaining money and collecting more money and having confidence and so on. And at the very most you say that here I don't really have complete satisfaction, but maybe if I keep praying and asking for Ishvara's help, maybe in my next life I may have a better life. This is the extent of it. And the entire set of actions that you have are due to apraptasya prapti. And what is appropriate? See, for example, supposing you're talking about your father's rental property that is given to you. If you don't know that this belongs to you, and you say, I want to really buy this, then all your actions will be apraptasya prapti. But if you were somehow be convinced, it's not that difficult to convince, that this is praptasya prapti, then it's not as though your actions will stop. They should not stop. Because this is a very profound thing, which requires some, and I think that even the renters and so on, they might also feel that, who is this guy? Prove it to us. Prove it to us. So you have to provide the proof. But the burden of proof and the actions that you do for providing that burden of proof is an entirely different nature. You are sure this belongs to you, and it's a very minor problem. The lawyer might call and say, yes, we have a date and so on and so forth, but is what happens. The judges also go on vacation at the last minute, and you think that today is the date, and the last minute the judges say, I'm sorry, I am on vacation. So now 6 months have gone by. All kinds of problems, but it doesn't really faze you that much. It's okay. The rents are coming in, and one day I'm going to turn them out and live there. So also the Atma Vidya, first I have to see that this is praptasya prapti. And a prapti which appears as aprapta. It's not mine. I don't have the happiness yet. But you feel there are glimpses of it enough, and through the shraddha, through the listening to some learned people who know what it is all about, you begin to see this is what it is. I have to really own up to it. And then there are some difficulties, Just like the renter all asks you to validate your identity, here also you have to validate your identity. So my life needs to really search properly. If I'm searching at the wrong places, then I'm never going to get there. So my search has to be at least you're going in the wrong direction. It should be the other way around. And there also it's not going to be absolutely certain for you that unless you have done you're a Mahapurusha and you've done a lot of very good punyas in your past life. Unfortunately, most of us are not in that category. We are just ordinary people. And so we have got some work to do. But the work to do is of the nature of praptasya prapti. As I was saying the other day, so for example, and not even forget about the other day, just a fresh one, that your search should be directed at the Paramatma that I am not accepting, that I am. That I am Satchit Ananda without any connection to the world. And so my actions and my thoughts should be, why is it that I don't get it? Instead, what I find is that my actions are consistent with apraptasya prapti. That you are worried about your body, you're worried about your money, you're worried about friends, you're about this. Nothing of that is going to help you in the end. Nothing. They might give you some symptomatic relief, but you're not really tackling the disease at all. And removing the disease is not going to be easy, which is an amazing thing, that I am the very nature of Satchidananda and I don't get it. This is very strange. But that's how the Srishti is. This is the Maya Shakti. And so it's not going to be easy for me to remove the disease. But for heaven's sake, let me try to remove the disease rather than fighting symptoms only. So where I started with this whole thing, that's dissertation, was that all things that are dependent ultimately reside on the independent, which is Svatasiddha, which is Praptasya Prapti. You see the connection now? This is what I got into this, I think, a wonderful tangent. So the Praptasya Prapti is Svatasiddhatvam. Maunam. And so the sooner my way of thinking is consistent with that, the sooner I will understand the mithyatvam of the whole thing. And so all of that is also part of the Shravanam, where you have to understand that all jnanam comes from Ishvara. That my nature is nothing but jnanam. Jnanam is knowledge, is consciousness, pure consciousness, sakshi. And in spite of the experiences that I feel I am not the sakshi, I have to examine it. How is that possible? Then my search becomes much more real. Then I'm going in the right direction. Praptasya prapti. So that was the end of this summary in the first line of verse number 30 of 23, where it says, Jnanam na chet swayam siddham jagat andham tamaf bhavet. So please understand this very well, because it's like, and Swami Dhananand used to say this so well, he's very good articulation of this. He said, because this is what is called, did he use an English translation for that? Or? Yeah, he used to say clinched. The fact that you are able to see, you hear, to do anything, all transactions are only possible if you are already self-established. See this clearly. Why not? Why is it that the case that only if you are self-established? Because your pramanam of seeing depends upon something which has already been validated. Your eyes are validated. You have complete validation about the ability for your eyes to see. And in fact, if there's a defect in the eye, sometimes you go and see someone. Someone says, you know what, I think I met this person. I think he was there. He was there. And you say, are you sure? He says, quite frankly, I wasn't sure because I was just rubbing my eyes and I wasn't able to see very clearly. So I'm not sure. See, look at this. So if you cannot validate your eyes, you cannot validate the person. But suppose your eyes are all okay. You just recently got checked, it's 2020, everything is okay. Then you can say, yes, I saw the person. Then if somebody says, how do you know? And he says, I saw it with my own eyes. That means my eyes are already validated. Svata Siddham, in that sense. And then somebody can say, how do you know your eyes are good? Then you can say, because I know when my eyes were not good, I just changed my specs and now I can see very well. Okay, so then how do you know it? Because my mind tells me, I can tell that my eyes are seeing very well. Then how do you know your mind is validated? So then you can say, well, I am here, and therefore my mind, I have a mind, my thoughts, they say that my eyes are okay. And if eyes are okay, then I saw the person. So then then the buck stops there. You cannot say, how do you know you are there? You see? So the pramanam, the pramanatvam ends with swatasiddhatvam. You have no doubt you are there. Everything else you can doubt, but you cannot doubt that I am here. And if this was not the case, you cannot complete these transactions. You'll say, well, I saw something and now I'm trying to validate the eyes, and I'm trying to validate the eyes because of my mind, I'm trying to validate the mind, and I'm trying to validate if I am there, who's going to validate if I'm there? Then there'll be somebody else, you have to ask around, hey, am I there? No vyavahara. So that's exactly what he's saying. Andham tamav bhavet means the whole world will just not work, you foolish person. Jnanam na chet swayam siddham jagat andham tamav bhavet. So, the first line, the jnana shakti, ending in Swatasiddha Jnanam, Ishvara's Swatasiddha Jnanam is now ended. Now we start a section on Kriya Shakti. Kriya Shakti. And I have to warn you that this is more difficult to grasp. And to that extent, it is very possible that we may have to do it in stages. All of that will not... Jnana Shakti, I think it should be clear to you by now. So the Kriya Shakti is not that clear and may need some more work. But at least you should be given the answer. The answer should be given. The answer is given here. And so we'll try to do at least some partial analysis of the answer. So the second verse line of the verse 23 is Nachet asya kriya kachit vyavaharaha katham bhavet. So what he's being pointing out, and it's very difficult, it's not, I feel this is not elaborated enough for us to really grasp it completely. So I'll grant you that. But nevertheless, the answer is very clear. And the answer is that both the Kriya Shakti and the Jnana Shakti comes from Ishvara alone. You cannot say that the Jnana Shakti, because of the examples of the Surya and so on, that one I know comes from Ishvara, but Kriya Shakti is my own. Can't say that. It's all consistent. It all is the same. And I would say probably this point here, Swami Maheshananji has not given that explanation included in this, but I can add to that, is that, well, first of all, before I say that, let me just do this. So the Kriya Shakti, the Kriya, not Kriya Shakti, let's just say Kriya, Karma, any action, consists of, there are two kinds of actions. One kind of action is where the vastu that you are examining, the thing that you're examining, remains the same, but the time period and also the space in which it is defined changes. Like, for example, our own bodies. They may feel that the body remains the same, but yesterday's body is not the same as today's body. That was yesterday's body. Or if you go to some other place in an hour or so, then you are defined by that place, not this place. Or your whole body itself can change. So in fact, let's do this. I'll come back to, I'll go back to it later on, but let's look at number 24. Number 24 talks about these two kinds of kriya. It says kriya nama parispanda parinama swarupini. So he says kriya is of one of two kinds. One is called parispanda. Parispanda means to go, to change positions is called parispanda. And parinama is to change the very nature of the vastu itself. It has nothing to do with going, not going with any motion, but the vastu itself changes. So he says, now let's look at both of them at a time. Let's look at the second line of number 24. Spandamane bahijnane tad ankuravat udbhavet. So this is where the complete explanation is lacking in my view. I think more needs to be done. But I think at least the answer should be that in case of changes in position, not the change in the vastu itself, but the change in position, which is gatihi, which is the motion, is based on your changes in jnanam. Changes in jnanam. And here's where I would add some things here which has not been done. And bring out the example of the swapna. Your dream. So in your dream, both the Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti are evident to you. So for example, supposing you dream that there is a person who comes and talks and he says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Or something like this, because most of the time you have actually people who you know already. That's how the vasanas, your brother, your wife, your husband, and comes in front of you and so on and so forth. and you're talking to them. And supposing you're not even talking to them, you just look at them in the dream, and you say, oh, so this is Jnana Shakti, right? Because it is recognition or non-recognition. You say, who are you? But all of this pertains to your knowledge in the dream knowledge. But you also have dream kriya. Supposing you say, let's both walk together. This is a kriya, which is a change in your jnanam, kind of like. And so that also, the kriya shakti is also imbued in your atma, the sakshi that dreams. See, this is the thing that to be seen. So in the case of Ishvara and the Jiva, should be exactly like a waker and a dreamer. So the waker alone dreams. And in the dream, you can either know or you can be moving. You can doing kriya. You may be cooking. And you say, let me cook something. I'm very hungry. Very hungry. And so you want to cook something. All in the dream. Or you say, come in the car with me, or something like this. Kriya Shakti. So the Kriya Shakti also is not as though you are developing a brand new one in your dream. It is already there in you. So this is what he's saying, that really as far as the changes in Spandamanam is concerned, this is nothing but as though your jnanam has given rise to a ankura, which is a bud, just like you have a seed that becomes a bud and becomes more visible. In the case of jnanam, maybe it is just very subtle, but in the case of kriya, it becomes a little bit more gross. That's all that happens. But it comes from the same one. So the jnanam alone is the everything, both prana shakti, jnana shakti, kriya shakti has the same source. And all of that comes from Ishvara. That's all it's pointing out. Then, in the second type of kriya, remember there's two types of kriya. One is kriya nama. So this word nama, when it is said in Sanskritam, it means it is defined as. Kriya nama means kriya is defined as. Or they say lakshana. Lakshana means how do you characterize kriya? Kriya nama parispanda here, sorry. See parispanda and parinama swarupini. It's a dual form of Sarupini, so it's a long E. Spandamane bahirgyane tad ankuravat udbhavet. So this we saw. Now comes number 25, which is Parinama Swarupini. So he says that this is a well researched, well discussed, very consistent. You will find this verse in lots of different places. A lot of the Upanishads also have the same one. That kriyas are of one of four kinds. And Atma is not the kriya phala for any one four of them. It is outside that. What are the four kinds? Utpadya. Utpadya means one which is created. Created. So for example, in the case of a clay pot, the pot is created, which was not there before. It is utpadya. And so similarly, if you are cooking something, some new dish, it is utpadya. So this is one type of kriya. Then the second type of kriya is prapya. Prapya means to reach, to get there. So you were in someplace else, now you are in in this class, in this town, and so this is reaching the Jain Bhavan. So this is another type of kriya. Then the next one is samskarya. So samskarya is not usually something that we see, and it is really more religious, and that is to purify, or even in the general world. So for example, it's not as though you don't normally see. So whenever something is dirty, and so that, I think that I'm making too much of it. Just for example, supposing you put your clothes in the laundry. Yeah, that's a good example. So you had all kind of dirty marks and this, that, or the other, and you had, you were working out, it is sweaty, and so you have not changed anything, but you've made it purer. You've cleansing. So remove all of the problems from it and just cleaning. This is called samskaryam. This is the second one, third one. Then comes vikarya, last one. So vikarya means to change the form of it. So the classical example given is that from milk you make yogurt. So there, the milk is still there, but not in the form that was there before. So this is called vikarya. These are the four kinds of, and so karoti, so these are the actions, the actor who does all these four things, or gacchati. So karoti means it is utpadya karoti. Gacchati means prapti karoti, gacchati. Then unmarshti. Marshti means one who cleans it, who's cleansing it. And vikarya means chinnati, means who cuts it or does some, like for example here the example is that you have a piece of wood and now you cut it, you made it into two parts. And they cannot be joined together now. That's it, there are two parts. That is chinnati. So he says these kinds of karyas come into being. And Atma is a sahakari. It is a supporter of all four of them, but it is not the result of any four of them. The idea is that it is praptasya praptihi. We do karma. It's exactly the same thing. The way we do karma is that, that a new one is born, or that I have reached, through meditation, I have reached some place, or that I am cleaning I am doing samskaryam, doing a lot of puja, and I want to become pure, or I want to change my condition. And so it's not as though, this is the thing, these all are appropriate for karma and the karma phala, whereas I am already there. I'm already there in all of the types of different karmas. How am I going to reach there? Only through jnanam, through knowledge that I am already there, I don't need to go anywhere, I don't need to change. Nothing needs to happen. I just need to recognize my reality. And so therefore, Kriya Shakti also is both coming from Ishvara, and it is Swata Siddha. So for example, getting up from the dream, all the kriyas, all the changes, all of the actions in the dream disappear. You are just quietly sleeping there, opening your eyes and says, wow, that was some dream. Nothing happened. Similarly here also, what will happen is you are already Brahman, and you will recognize yourself to be Brahman that you already were, which we will go into in more details later on. So I think, you know what, I think I'll stop at this point, and maybe just leave for some questions and discussions. And I'm pretty sure that we will finish this by next time. So 26th through 30th, 31st, 30th. 31st is just a, and so we'll be able to finish that next time. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay. Yes.
Just like the way you described Ichha Shakti as one that is preceded by the Kamana, one that is done. And you said just now that the Kriya Shakti is, so let me backtrack. Ichha Shakti and Kriya Shakti both are from Ishvara.
Correct.
But in the dream, what you dream is actually from the Vasana, and that is not from Ishvara, right?
No, ultimately everything is from Ishvara, but the Vasanas also is the Ishvara's order, Ishvara's scientific order, which is specific to a jiva. So by that I mean that there is a certain order in the whole creation which says that your karma has both an immediate component and a stored component. And the stored component is in the Sukshma Sharira, and the immediate component of the karma phala is both in the Sukshma Sharira and specifically on Sthula Sharira. So if you neglect yourself and your own health, and you have, let's say you and I are indisciplined in eating, we eat not good stuff, and as a result of that we spoil our health and we suffer. Now, that tendency of not eating well will persevere even in our next life, even though you have given up this life and so on. So this is the vasana, this is the order of the universe, that you cannot just, it is not cut and dry. There is some sukshma component, and this is more applicable in the case where you have, you save somebody's life. Look at the positive aspect of it. And this is not an ordinary thing. You save someone's life, and the person may thank you, may send you some flowers and some, candies and so on. That's not, no one can thank you enough for something like this. So your punya will continue on for lives, many other lives. And so the vasanas that you speak of in the case of dream are also part of the order of the universe, but pertaining to a specific jiva. Yeah. So what's still your doubt? You still have a quizzical look.
So,
well, ultimately it is all the laws of order of the universe. But how you and I take the order of the laws of the universe and apply it to my specific situation, which is what the dream is and so on and so forth, is up to me. But the basic science of that is not up to me. It comes from Ishvara. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Jnana comes from Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
Shiva Shakti, and then according to the Jnana, the Kriya is done by the human being, Atma is for everybody, given by Ishvara. And the Kriya is done according to their wish, isn't it? Wish what they want to do, like
Right. Yeah.
what is their achievement or what they want to do.
Correct. Yeah. So what's your question?
That's what I mean, that Jnana and Atma, and then Kriya is done by the...
So the Atma does not, in fact the Atma means the Jiva's real nature, which is Atma, doesn't do Kriya, has no Ichcha, no nothing. It is simply, so in the case of the example of the dream, so the waker, you don't go into the dream saying, today I'm going to have a bad dream. You don't do that. You do nothing. But because of your vasanas or whatever it is, your ability to support these activities of a bad dream are all happen. So the Kriya Shakti and the Jnana Shakti and Ichcha Shakti and Karma Phala, Sukha Dukkha in the dream, all are supported by the Atma, without the Atma really having any connection to it. So the Atma, which is the very nature of knowledge and Jnanam, has no connection to any of the outside world. But like a dream, it appears to have it, that's all. Yeah. Yeah.
So same question. In the verse 25, we said there are 4 types of Kriya.
Yeah.
And Atma is neither of these 4.
Correct.
But it supports those 4 Kriya types.
You cannot have a Kriya you cannot have anything without Atma.
Right.
Correct.
But when we say that, right, there is, at least I don't see any unique or incremental contribution from Atma in making these 4 Kriyas happen. Other than that I am a Jivatma and...
So the power to know and the power to do really comes from the Atma. So that's the Swabhava of the Atma, not the Swarupa of the Atma, but the Swabhava of the Atma. So I think the best thing is to see, this is the beautiful thing, is to see that the light provided in the dream, in the darkness, is provided by the Atma.
Okay.
And it so happens, as we are studying in the Mandukya Upanishad in more detail on this point, that really speaking, our experiences in the Jagrata Avastha are all generated by me. So instead of just the opposite of what we are thinking, instead of saying that I have nothing to do with it, all of the ability to fool myself, which is the very avidya and the maya shakti, it all comes from me alone. And so the implication of these are enormous. What it means is that for us to start the work on praptasya prapti, I should now take responsibility that everything that I'm doing is my doing, including this whole creation, believe it or not, whole creation. And I should stop fighting this idea that I'm at the dependency of the world or anything like that. I'm not. And it may be that by the time I discover this, 2 or 3 lives are gone. It's very possible. We're not saying that as soon as you think that you're going to get it. But let me start. So the praptasya prapti means that it may be that this renter has got connections with the Prime Minister and he will not let you, he's got better lawyers than you do. And they will keep on postponing and postpone. Is what happened to my mother and father. Really, their lives were spoiled by this guy who was upstairs, Mr. Tandon. 2,000 rupees he paid when 1964. And when my mother and father died, he was still paying 2,000. And the rent had gone up to 45,000 rupees.
Right.
And it spoiled their life fighting with this. But the guy was cleverer than these two old people. So it might take us a little while. But I think that we have to take responsibility that I am creating this whole world out of my ajnanam, and I need to get out of it by my own efforts. Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry. Gajananam.
Isn't Kriya Shakti just an extension of Jnana Shakti?
It is. Yes.
Samskara for it.
Yes, very much so. It is. That's a very good point, and that's what's brought out here. So in fact, there is a opposite view to this, which says that that your sthula sharira generates your sukshma sharira. Your thoughts are generated by your brain, and if your brains are are damaged in some way, then you cannot think, which is true to a certain point. But here we are talking about psychosomatic illnesses, that if you have if you have a sense of depression because of something, you spoil your body. It's the other way around. So really the bodily problems stem from mental problems. This is the basics of what Vedanta is saying. Yeah.
So we emphasized a lot on praptasya prapti.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the terms we used was maunam, synonymous to praptasya prapti.
Yes.
So what is the relationship between maunam and our whole teaching of Vedanta as such, or why is it important?
Yeah. So because the nature of Atma is maunam. Nature of Atma is complete silence. And a silence which is satisfying silence. It's not boredom. Because this is the problem that we have, is we think of silence as being something which is incomplete. I need to have people's company. I need to be listening to music and so on and so forth. That's not the silence we're talking about. But the silence where you don't need to do anything. You don't need to know anything. You don't go anywhere. You're just Purnaha as you are. And knowing that I am not the source of any sound, any noise, any disturbance, any changes, nothing. That is the maunam. And so this is why it is said that in the teacher, when it says mauna vyakhya, so mauna vyakhya, which is done from chin mudra. So the chin mudra is where the thumb representing the Atma, which is nothing is possible without the use of thumb. Everything has to be, thumb is involved. And where your this finger here, the first finger, is now bent to recognize that really Atma is the source of everything. So this finger represents ego, right? It is ahankara. So the ahankara is now bent into Atma. And then the other fingers represent sattva-guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. And so the ego leaves those three and becomes one with the maunam, which is the Atma. So praptasya praptihi, the nature of praptasya praptihi is maunam. Yeah, that's the connection.
So from that point of view, is maunam and sakshi, are these two words signify, are they synonymous or
they're synonymous?
Slightly different?
They're synonymous, but they're synonymous, but they are pointing out different aspects. what is Maunam is also the Sakshi. Maunam means that you're not unaware that I know. I know is the overlay of everything. And that I know is the nature of Maunam. And so the Satchit and Ananda, or Satyam Jnanam Anantam, are one and the same thing, but viewed from different standpoints. That I'm aware, and I lack nothing, which is Purnam. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat. So, and that is also the nature of Maunam. Yeah. It's the same thing. Sakshi and Maunam is one and the same. Yeah. Yeah.
One last clarification. In the English book,
Mm-hmm.
on the verse 24,
Okay.
so there's a word external at the end where it says, activity which is either motion or change of condition becomes manifested as an offshoot of consciousness moving towards the external.
Yeah.
The word external is a little bit throwing me off.
Okay. So what it means is that the way the knowledge, the way the consciousness assumes the form of transactions is that it requires, so the transactions require your sense organs to be active.
Right.
And what the sense organs do is to capture an image, like in the case of eyes, it capture an image which is so-called external to you. And so the knowledge actually blesses the organ and blesses its ability to cognize an external object. So, and we don't have to, there's actually controversies whether the knowledge actually goes out. Here the best explanation is that when the rays of the sun, when they are sent out from sun to the earth, are they really sent out? Well, it's hard to tell.
Right.
Because as soon as the sun sets, they are not still hanging out there. They become one with the sun. So they don't have an external kind of a thing. So that externalization should be viewed as the sun lighting up through the rays. That's all. Yeah. Yeah.
About Maunam,
Mm-hmm.
the way I understand is the more rajas we have, the less we are prone to experience the Maunam.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So what should be done to reduce the rajas?
So is the same, we can discuss it in more detail some other time, is to recognize that all karma phala is not based on kamana. It's not based on kamana. Praptasya praptihi. That is what needs to be done. And then you have then the rajas. There is a certain amount of rajas that will be useful there also. Like for example, to come to a class, you need rajas. So it's not as though you just say, I'm not doing anything from now on. Then you will sit just as uninformed as you were before. So it'll be a rajas which will be controlled rajas. Instead of being out of control and just dancing around and doing foolish things and so on, you direct your activity towards something to discover the self-identity. So something like that. So this is what we are saying, that the actions of the praptasya praptihi, in the case of this person who wants to establish his ownership of the rental property, he's got to do some things. You've got to go talk to a lawyer and so on and so forth, which is completely different from having to buy a new property. Give a beautiful example, I thought. Okay.